Most people don't realize that cheating is rarely about desire alone. It feels emotional, impulsive, even romantic on the surface, but psychology points to something quieter and more uncomfortable underneath. Cheating is often about power and the need to feel it when something inside feels lost. By the end of this, you'll understand why infidelity isn't just about attraction, boredom, or opportunity. You'll see how power dynamics shape behavior, how the brain rewards secrecy, and why some people cheat even when they claim to love their partner. This isn't about blame, it's about understanding what is really driving the behavior. Power in psychology doesn't always look like control over others. More often, it looks like control over one's own emotional state. When someone cheats, they are often trying to reclaim a sense of agency they feel slipping away in their daily life. Many people who cheat feel trapped long before they ever cross a line. Trapped by routine, trapped by expectations, trapped by a version of themselves they no longer recognize. Cheating becomes a private space where they feel free, decisive, and wanted again. The brain plays a central role here. When someone engages in secret behavior, the brain releases dopamine, the chemical tied to reward and anticipation. But dopamine isn't about pleasure, it's about pursuit. It creates a sense of momentum, of being alive, of moving toward something. That rush can feel like confidence, like power, especially for someone who feels ignored, minimized, or emotionally invisible in other areas of life. Here's a question worth sitting with. If cheating were only about sex, why do so many people risk everything for relationships that are stressful, complicated, and unstable? Why not choose safety instead? Because power is intoxicating when someone feels powerless elsewhere. In many relationships, power slowly erodes without anyone noticing. Decisions become predictable, roles become fixed. One person may feel they are always accommodating, always explaining, always waiting. Over time, resentment builds, even if it's never spoken out loud. Cheating flips that dynamic. Suddenly, the person who felt passive becomes active. The one who felt predictable becomes desired. The one who felt known becomes mysterious. That reversal can feel deeply empowering. This doesn't mean the person is consciously seeking control over others. Often they are trying to control over themselves, over their image, over how they are seen and felt. Psychology also shows that secrecy itself creates a power imbalance. When one person knows something that others do not, it creates a sense of superiority. Not moral superiority, but psychological leverage. That hidden knowledge becomes a private world, a place where the rules feel suspended, a place where the person feels smarter, freer, and more in control. Think about how different it feels to break a rule when no one is watching. The thrill isn't just the act, it's the sense of autonomy. But there's another layer. Power doesn't only come from taking something, sometimes it comes from being chosen. Many people who cheat are deeply sensitive to rejection. They may appear confident, even charming, but internally they rely heavily on external validation. Being desired by someone new temporarily soothes that vulnerability. Each message, glance, or secret meeting becomes proof of worth, proof that they still matter, proof that they can still move someone emotionally. Ask yourself this. If validation were removed from the equation, would the behavior still feel as compelling? In the brain, validation activates reward pathways similar to winning or achieving a goal. For someone who feels stagnant, overlooked, or diminished, cheating becomes a shortcut to feeling powerful again. This is why cheating often increases during periods of personal stress. Career dissatisfaction, aging, loss of status, emotional neglect. These experiences quietly strip away a sense of control. Rather than addressing that loss directly, some people seek power in relationships where the stakes feel different. Cheating can also be a way to avoid vulnerability. True intimacy requires openness, accountability, and emotional risk. Power, on the other hand, allows distance. When someone cheats, they are in control of what is revealed and what is hidden. They decide when to show up and when to disappear. That control can feel safer than honesty. Here's the paradox. The more someone uses cheating to feel powerful, the more dependent they become on the very behavior that erodes real connection. Power gained through secrecy is fragile. It must be maintained through lies, compartmentalization, and constant vigilance. Over time, this creates anxiety rather than confidence. The brain begins to associate excitement with stress, pleasure with fear, control with instability. Another surprising insight is that cheating often reflects an internal power struggle, not an external one. Many people are torn between who they think they should be and who they feel they are becoming. Cheating becomes a way to live both identities at once, the responsible partner and the desired outsider, the stable self and the reckless self. Instead of choosing, they oscillate. This internal split creates tension, but it also creates stimulation. The brain thrives on contrast. The sharper the divide, the stronger the emotional charge. That's why some people describe cheating as feeling unreal, like stepping into another life. It offers temporary escape from the constraints of identity. But power without integration comes at a cost. Eventually, the effort to maintain two realities becomes exhausting. The person may feel increasingly disconnected from themselves. What once felt empowering begins to feel hollow. There's a moment many people don't talk about, the moment after the thrill fades and the person is left alone with the awareness that nothing meaningful has changed. The job is still unfulfilling, the relationship is still strained, the insecurity is still there. Cheating didn't solve the powerlessness, it only masked it. This is where psychology becomes uncomfortable, because it suggests that the opposite of cheating isn't loyalty, it's self-confrontation. It requires asking hard questions. Where do I feel unseen? Where do I feel controlled? Where have I stopped advocating for myself? Without addressing those questions, behavior repeats. Different person, same pattern. Power in healthy relationships looks very different. It looks like mutual influence, emotional honesty, the freedom to express dissatisfaction without fear of collapse. But that kind of power requires courage. It requires risking rejection. It requires staying present when it would be easier to escape. Cheating avoids that risk. It offers power without accountability, control without growth. Here's something to reflect on. If someone feels powerful only when they are hiding, what does that say about how safe they feel being known? Understanding cheating as a power issue doesn't excuse it, but it does explain why punishment and shame rarely lead to change. Real change happens when the underlying power imbalance is addressed, either within the individual or within the relationship. That may mean reclaiming agency in other areas of life, setting boundaries, making difficult decisions, leaving situations that diminish self-worth. Or it may mean learning to share power instead of hoarding it, learning to speak needs instead of acting them out. At its core, cheating is a signal, not of desire but of disconnection, not of excess but of lack. A lack of agency, a lack of validation, a lack of self-trust. When those needs are met in healthier ways, the behavior loses its grip. So if you've ever wondered why someone would risk everything for something that doesn't last, this is the deeper answer. They weren't chasing another person. They were chasing a feeling of power they didn't know how to access otherwise. Understanding that changes how we see infidelity, not as random betrayal, but as a psychological attempt to reclaim something that feels lost. And that understanding offers a choice: to keep seeking power in secrecy, or to build it through honesty, self-awareness, and real agency. If this perspective made you reflect on your own experiences or observations, share your thoughts. Understanding human behavior starts with honest reflection, and that conversation is where real insight begins.